Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I have a layout using this really old collection from Julie Nutting called Nautical Bliss. I'm also going to be pulling out this page map sketch from December of 2015. My family and I are currently on a cruise ship, and I thought it would be pretty nice to send you guys some cruise vibes by posting a video of a cruise that we went on a couple years ago. I'm actually going to be doing 2 single-page layouts in this video. These are 2 photos that I love. They are on different days, and I wanted them to be in my cruise album, and I wanted them to showcase all by themselves. So this first layout that I'm going to be working on is a photo of my mom and myself. We took this cruise 9 years ago for her birthday. It was such an amazing experience to have several days with just me and my mom. I am almost done with all of the photos from that cruise, and I thought, why not just go ahead and try to wrap it up? I think I might have like 1 or 2 more layouts left. This is a collection that I did not purchase. I attend a monthly crop, and there is always a giveaway table of items that people no longer want, but items that are perfectly acceptable and can still be used. There were several pieces from this collection to include 2 sticker sheets as well as several pieces of paper. Some of them had been cut into and some of them hadn't, and I knew that it would be a perfect collection to document these cruise photos. So I decided to pick up all of the pieces. And more than likely what I'll do after I've created these 2 layouts is take it back to the crop and see if there's anybody else that would like the rest of the collection. I have this one photo of my mom and myself on the last day of the cruise. This is actually as we were waiting to debark the cruise. So this one is going to be in the very last page of my layout. I have this 3x4 card that says, "She smelled the salt air and it soothed her soul." And I feel like that is such an amazing statement for this birthday trip with my mom. This was her first cruise ever, and both of us came back from the cruise so relaxed. I decided to take another 3x4 card and I cut it in half. I used my notebook border punch to add an edge to it and added it to the right hand side of the card that I added. The sketch calls for a border around the edge, so I pulled out my T-square ruler and marked 1/4 inch on the 4 sides so that I could draw a line. I wanted to make sure that the stitching met perfectly in the corners since it was going to be a large focal point. It did take me a little bit to make sure that the lines were straight. There was one that was way off. I had to end up erasing the line completely and redrawing it. But I'm so glad that I used the T-square ruler and a pencil to make those lines because it made poking the holes so much easier. I then pulled out my Tim Holtz ruler and lined it up along the pencil line and poked the holes. When I got to the edge, I did have to adjust the ruler just a little bit to make sure that I had enough space in between the areas on the corner. I then erased all of the pencil marks. It took me a little bit to try to find a pink that matched. The border strip that I added to the layout is a tone-on-tone pink, and I was really looking for a pink that was in the background, but I couldn't find anything that matched really well, and I actually ended up using the darker pink. And I love the contrast between the teal and the pink. These last 2 threads that I looked at, I actually had to unravel and lay it down to see which one looked better. I then pulled out my stitching tools and I just stitched a back stitch all the way around the entire layout. I did slow the video down here so that you could see that stitching. I did have to pull several pieces from my embellishment books. I picked up these doilies in the Target dollar spot several years ago, and it was a ton of doilies. I did cut it in half and add it to the left-hand side of the photo. And then there were these 2 paper dolls that kind of look like my mom and I added it right on top of the doily. I also pulled out this paper fan that I got from an Echo Park mystery box. It is baby themed. What I like to do with those is I add them to my color binders in the color that they are. So this one was in the pink color binder because I knew that I could cover up that center. I first added a red polka dotted circle and then on top of that added a blue floral, and you can't even tell that this was a baby embellishment. I also added a pink floral to the 2 3x4 cards above to bridge the 2 cards together. You can see over on the right, I have all of the pieces that I pulled out from my embellishment books. I mainly looked in my pink and gray color. Even though there wasn't any gray in the papers, I felt like gray would be a good neutral. I added a tag up to the right that says January, because that's when her birthday month is. I also added another little sticker that has just that dark pink in it, and it gives it just an extra little color. The sticker sheet had several paper buttons, and I always like to add string or twine to the center of the paper buttons. It just fills out that embellishment so much, and even though it's paper, it still looks like a button. There was also a sand dollar in that teal polka dotted color, so I added that to the top left. I thought about adding the date to one of these label tags, but it wiped right off and it just didn't look good, so I decided not to use it. And then I pulled out this tag that I know I have cut from some of my scraps. In my updated embellishment book video, which I'll link here for you, I talk about how I save some of my plain colored scraps and use very simple dies like circles or tags to make extra embellishments to go in my embellishment books, because I tend to like embellishments that are simple, maybe tone on tone colors or things like that, that I can just tuck in and add additional color to. So if you don't have a lot of embellishments, I would highly recommend maybe investing in some very basic dies, and then you can use your scraps to create those embellishments to add to your color binders. I also added a tag up to the top that says happy in the gray wood grain color. And then right next to the photo, I have a little sparkly gray camera. Down below the photo, I used the other half of that tag and tucked it in so that I could use it as a cluster foundation. I added the word adventure on top of it, as well as a circle enamel shape that's quite large. Then from the sticker sheets, I did pull a floral cluster and added it on the bottom of the 3x4 cards. I also added a little hexagon that says love. And then I pulled out my color boxes in the wood veneer and the white and added some hearts to a couple of the clusters. For the second single page layout that I'm going to create, I'm going to use a sketch from August of 2016 from Page Maps. I'm going to be using the exact same collection, and I feel like that is going to allow me to tie these photos together. This particular photo is of a sunset. You can see some umbrellas as well as some people sunbathing, but the photo is really dark, so I knew that I wanted to use some really light paper. I decided to pull out this teal paper that has red stars on it, and then for the right-hand side of the paper, I'm going to use this one that has all the flags on it. There wasn't a lot of colored cardstock in this collection, so I did decide to look through my pink cardstock, and I finally landed on a pink that I think works really well. What I'm going to do is have a pink mat, and then I'm going to mat these two papers, the blue with the stars and the flags on top of it. And I'm not a single page girl. You guys know that I prefer double page layouts, but I love when there is so much texture and so many different colors and pattern papers on a single page layout that I sometimes feel like you're not able to do on a double page, even though this one is absolutely one that I think that I could stretch and it would turn out beautifully. So I did cut down the pink paper to 11 by 11. The star paper is cut down to 10.5 inches by 3. And then the flag paper is cut down to 10.5 inches by 7. And it did take me a little bit to try to figure out what size I wanted it. I measured it, I put it over in my paper trimmer, and then I forgot the measurement and I had to measure it again. But I do finally get it cut down. Then I decided that since I had all of this paper, the pink and the white, as well as the pattern paper, that I felt like my photo might get lost. So I decided to mat it on the pink paper. And I'm also going to mat it on the white paper. I feel like the double mat lightens up my photo a little bit. Again, my photo is really dark. I really wanted to showcase the sun and the water more than the people on the boat, but I wanted to have the boat in the picture so it wasn't just the horizon in the photo. So I was very specific when I did print this photo out. I did make it a little bit darker so that I could truly see the sunset and it not be overexposed. Once I matted the photo, I did go ahead and pull out the worn lipstick and ink up the pink, and I feel like it gives it such a nice contrast from the light pink and the dark pink, which is a color combination that's used in the paper as well. I then added the pink mat down using my T-square ruler. I had to make sure that it was straight. On top of the pink paper, I added the 2 pattern papers with the flag and the stars, and it also took me a little bit to get these down as well. I knew that because this was a square layout, it was going to take me a little bit to get these base papers down, but I really like the way that this turned out, and I feel like these 2 pattern papers, the stars and the flags, really work well together. Of course, you know that I couldn't cut the paper straight, so I did pull out my X-Acto knife and T-square ruler to trim down the top of both of those papers so that they are straight across the top. The sketch calls for a piece in the center, and I thought maybe I could use one of the border strips, but they weren't working very well. So I started to look through the pattern paper, and I found this pattern paper that had the anchors on it, and there is a little bit of this blue/purple color, and I felt like by adding the anchors, it would really bring that in. I did also ink up the edges so that it brings in the pink to that paper, but I feel like cutting out 1 row of strips in the anchors really set this paper off. I started out by looking through my blue cardstock because when I saw these anchors, I thought that they were blue. I even pulled out this like blue shiny paper and it didn't work. Then I was like, maybe this is purple. And I went to my purple paper and I did find a purple that coordinates really well. I don't think that it is like matchy. It's definitely not the same color, but those anchors are definitely purple, not blue. So I used my border punch to cut out a scalloped border, and then I cut down the purple paper. I wanted to cut it a little bit larger than what I planned to use because I knew that I could lay the anchor paper on top of it. The division between these 2 papers with this purple scallop and the anchor just ties the entire layout together, and I love the way that it looks. I then add my photo on top of it, and I do decide to put my photo up on fun foam just because there is so many layers on the background paper. I thought about using that other half of the doily that I used on the other layout, but I just couldn't make it work. I definitely wanted to use this sticker that says "The voice of the sea speaks to her soul" because it does mimic the card from the other layout. But I couldn't make it work just yet. So I went back to the paper and started looking again to see if I could find something else to add. I looked through the 4x6 and the 3x4 cards and I really couldn't find anything. I pulled out this paper here. It's not my favorite, but I thought maybe I could use that as the circle element that the sketch calls for. But when I laid it down on the layout, I almost immediately was like, nope. I even tried to turn it over and use the red stripes. Didn't like that either. I decided to take a break from the collection pieces and see what other elements I could add. And I finally settled on cutting out a scalloped circle in that purple cardstock. I feel like because I had the scalloped border, that the scalloped circle worked really well. I then knew I could bring back that sticker that says "The voice of the sea speaks to her soul," and I did put that up on fun foam, and I'm going to add it to the left-hand side of the layout. I didn't really go with the rule of thirds. I basically have an embellishment cluster on all 4 corners of my photo. Now that I feel like I have the base of my clusters started, I'm going to go ahead and start adhering things down. I have this vellum circle that I accidentally cut out for another layout that was created before this one, but actually isn't going up on my channel until after this one. So you'll see that later. But it was sitting on my desk and I thought, I wonder if I can incorporate that into this layout. So I added it below the photo on the left-hand side, and I'm actually going to have that as the base of my journaling. I found this sticker that looks like a file tab and it's teal with white polka dots, so I added that to the top of my photo. And I also added this gray sticker that says "Vacation More," but it doesn't end up making it on the layout. I went back to the sticker sheet trying to find something that I thought could work, and I really like these button stickers, and I'm actually going to use several of them on this layout. This first one that I'm adding down has the anchors like the border strip that I cut out. I did use my jute twine to add to the center of it. I get my jute twine from the Dollar Tree. I found this boat that I really wanted to make work, but the colors just weren't right. I had too much teal and that was the only color that was on the boat, so I needed something else. So I go back to the buttons. I found a red striped button, and again, using the twine, I'm going to add a cluster of 3 buttons in that bottom left of the corner. I did find a floral cluster and I added that to the top right. And then I found the third button to add to the bottom cluster, and it's a teal color. So again, putting that jute twine in the center of it. I don't worry about wasting this jute twine. I bought this so long ago. Like I said, it was $1.25. I got it at the Dollar Tree. I use it constantly, and I feel like I still have a ton of it left. Up in the upper right-hand corner, I did add a yellow anchor to add a little bit more color. And then I found this sticker that says, "The sea took her breath away." And I knew I wanted to use that. So I did use some fun foam, and I'm going to add it to the lower right-hand side of the photo. So now you can see where my 4 clusters are coming together on each corner of the photo. I really tried to make that boat work. I thought about adding it to the top of the boat that was already there, but it just wasn't working. So I left the boat that was on there. I pulled out this pink label and added it underneath my photo. And then that is it for this video. Here are my final layouts as well as some close-ups. I did decide to do my journaling offline. The journaling for the photo of me and my mom says, "The final day of our cruise. And while we felt a deep sadness that it had come to an end, we cherished the wonderful memories we created while celebrating my mom's birthday." And then for the photo of the sunset, it says, "There's something magical about watching the sky transform as the sun dips below the horizon. It's a time when worries seem to melt away, replaced by a sense of calm and wonder," which is exactly what I hope to have this week on our cruise. If you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.